I usually do crawling, but I've been looking at some of the construction vehicles recently and I just couldn't resist getting hold of something like this just to complement our logging. I'm sitting in the middle of a new logging area and we've got more coming. I've got so much that I'm really excited to share over the next few weeks. It'll involve crawlers, don't worry, but we're also going to throw in the odd bit of fun because a bit of novelty is not bad. Anyway, this is the 1580. This is a middle of the line product from a Chinese company, Huina, who've recently been making higher quality equipment. It used to be not so good, but the last couple of years it's been a lot better. This looks to be a clone of the Caterpillar 336D, perhaps? Probably. It's not hydraulic. A hydraulic system requires a hydraulic pump and a motor, and then you've got to run high pressure lines out to each of the cylinders. You're not going to get that in any kind of reliable setup for 600 Australian dollars. But it uses linear actuators and they're plenty strong enough. Now the website says this thing's 11.8 kilos, but I weighed it at 5.4 kilos, and that's with the grabber. If you put the breaker attachment or the bucket on, they weigh slightly more than the grabber, but 5.5 kilos with battery, that's about it. So it comes in a beautiful case. It is cardboard, but it's in a faux leather with a aged kind of clips on the front. It's really fun to pull apart. The controller is this fella here. Is this fella here. It's got two buttons that may not be obviously apparent. There's a little plug here for the breaker. When you plug that in, it's just got a little DC motor and it plugs in. It's just a simple power connector and it just spins the motor one way or the other and it just makes it go dig 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 dig. Not very strong, only for show really, but what isn't for show is the grabber and the bucket. It's got a 2 amp lithium ion battery. It does say LiPo in some of the material for it, but it's two 18650 cells, which is completely adequate for this kind of machine. For something like this, lithium ion is actually probably the smart choice. The door doesn't open on the cabin, which is a shame. The arm, the boom and the stick, I think you call it, they're both really solid. Everything's held together with Phillips head screws, which, I don't know, for me it takes away a little bit of some of the scale goodness, but that's okay. Battery opens through a little hole in the hatch, and hatch comes off and it's metal as well. There's a smoke machine and then a battery next to it with a XT30 plug on it. There we go. It's all quite heavy, it's all metal. The tracks are nice. Everything's laid out like you'd think. There's a tensioner in the front for the tracks and the drivers at the back, the rear sprocket. I understand they're plastic or nylon gears inside each of these gearboxes, but that's okay for what you're doing here, that's fine. Let me show you one of my least favorite things about this. You ready? I'm going to press forward. See the delay? Press. That half-second delay is off-putting. That's the delay. However, everything to do with the controls is instant and it's also linear. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are at least 5 steps in the proportional movement. The stick. Now, all of these are linear actuators. There are little motors. They're a similar size to the little 280 motor inside the breaker here. Sufficient. And then the bucket itself is actually a decent size. I'm a big bloke. I'm 6 foot 1. Not big, but not small. It fits right in my hand. It's a decent bucket. Now it's a cheap alloy. It's not anything super heavy, but it won't break. The arm, that's its maximum height, and it has a stopper, so the motor doesn't just butt up against the stopper. It actually is stopped. So it doesn't burn itself out, which is good. And then when you try and raise the stick, that's the full limit. So I understand this is from nose to tail, let's say, that's something like 70 centimeters. It's a decent size. The smoker, it's an interesting smoker. It's an older fashioned style, and the smoke kind of just pops out, pop, 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 which is kind of cool. I like that. So that's the smoker, and it only takes a few drops. Now I did mention the breaker. Let me show you with these buttons. The plug under here for the breaker, all it does is it is voltage one way, voltage the other way. That's it. It's just a polarity change. So there's nothing complicated about these controls. Once you had this thing connected up there, you press either of these buttons and... which is kind of cool, you know. Doesn't really achieve anything, but it definitely looks cool. The bucket attaches up here. There's the swing joint and the H bracket, or whatever they're called. They attach with two main bolts and locking nuts, which is fine. One thing I couldn't find though was information on just how much this thing can lift. How much can it lift? I don't know. But I have brought with me the same scale I use to weigh rigs when I'm doing reviews, and a piece of cable. So don't go anywhere, I'll just be a sec. Alright. Now this is not scientific, but to maximize leverage I've got the arm up, or the boom up as high as I can. So we're actually going to be measuring the strength of this cylinder here rather than those two first. It's maxed out at, well, I think I saw 3.9. Okay, so now instead we're going to use the main arm. Yeah, 4.3. Okay, so again, it's not ideal, and I'm sorry for those of you who are physics majors who can see what I'm doing wrong here. There are some ways to improve this. You'll get the best leverage with the boom being as straight up as possible, and the stick, or the arm, I think it's called the stick, being as straight down as possible, so you can just pull straight up. And there are two actuators, two smaller actuators for the boom itself, while the stick only has one, and then the bucket attachment, or in this case the grabber, only has one as well. They're both pretty chunky, but that's still plenty to pick up quite a lot of stuff. So now I'll show you picking up a stick, which is also really cool. It's trying. Oh, it's gonna do it. Oh yeah. Now here's a weakness. See what you only get there? That's what you get. But that's still cool. You can actually drive while you're doing stuff too. Anyway, I only got this yesterday. I'm still learning the controls, but isn't that just totally rad? So now you can see why I've stopped playing with crawlers just for today to play with this. I will continue to do crawlers though, do not worry. There's plenty more coming up on RC-TNT to do with rock crawling, and it's going to be my central focus, but the secondary part is still going to be playing with you know, big trucks and scale heavy equipment, because it's totally rad. Oh, speaking of scale, one last thing. It says it's 114. It's not 114. I think this is closer to 115, almost 116. But we can forgive that because of its total coolness, because it really is totally cool. So that is the Huina 1580. There's a link in the description so you can see where to get one from. One last thing, if you found this interesting or useful in any way, throw me a like. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks guys, I'll catch you next time. Alright, little Huina. Little Huina.